the silent alchemy of your soul, the feminine attitude that forces him to take you seriously. In the quiet chambers of your soul, there lies a secret so potent, so transformative, that it can shift the very foundation of how a man sees you. A secret that whispers through the ages, carried on the winds of Carl Jung's timeless wisdom. Have you ever felt the sting of giving your all, pouring your love into a man, only to be met with indifference, as if your devotion fades into the shadows of his wandering gaze? The pain of not being taken seriously, of being overlooked despite your sacrifices, cuts deeper than words can express. It's a wound that echoes with questions. Why am I not enough? What must I do to make him value me? But what if the answer isn't in doing more, but in becoming more, in awakening a feminine power so profound that he not only takes you seriously, but trembles at the thought of losing you? This is the hidden truth we're about to unravel. A truth that will turn your pain into your greatest strength. Guided by the illuminating insights of Jung's exploration of the psyche, imagine a love where you are not just an option, not just a comfort, but the radiant center of his world, a love where he realizes, perhaps more than he dares to admit, he's more in love with you than he even realizes. This isn't about manipulation or games. It's about stepping into the fullness of your sacred feminine essence, a force so magnetic that it redefines how you are seen and cherished. Jung taught us that within each soul lies an archetype, a divine blueprint waiting to be embraced, the anima, the feminine soul that holds the key to true connection. Yet, so many women stray from this path, lured by a world that demands they dim their light, that teaches them to please, to yield, to sacrifice, until they become invisible. The greatest weakness of a man who ignores you isn't his indifference. It's his inability to see the power you hold when you reclaim your worth. Stay with me, for this journey into your soul's depths will reveal a feminine attitude so potent that it forces him to take you seriously and makes him fear losing you forever. As we step into this sacred exploration, let your heart open to the possibility that the love you crave is not something to beg for, but something to embody. If this resonates, if you feel a spark igniting within, join us at @shadowsage-u7n. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, and in the comments, share one word, chosen. Let that word be your vow to the universe, a declaration that you are ready to rise into your power. Write chosen now, and let's walk this path together, toward a love that honors your soul. What stirs within you as you read this? Share your thoughts below, and let's build a community of women who shine with unshakable strength. The misguided path of devotion. Let us begin where the pain often starts, the aching realization that your love, so freely given, has not earned you the respect you deserve. You've been taught that to be a good woman is to be patient, to be understanding, to bend over backwards, to keep a man close. You've cooked his meals, listened to his troubles, sacrificed your dreams to fit into his world, believing that this devotion would secure his heart. But instead, you find yourself fading into the background, a safe choice easily replaced when the next spark catches his eye. This is the illusion that society has woven, a myth that your value lies in how much you give, how much you please. Yet, deep down, you feel the truth. This path leaves you hollow, unseen, a shadow of the woman you were meant to be. Carl Jung would recognize this as a disconnection from the anima, the sacred feminine within you that yearns to be whole, not a servant to another's needs. He believed that the journey to individuation, the process of becoming your true self, requires us to shed these false masks, to unlearn the patterns that bind us. The world has told you that your worth is tied to his approval, that your love must be a sacrifice to be valid. But what if that very sacrifice is the chain that keeps you from being truly seen? What if the man who ignores you does so not because you lack love, but because you've loved from a place of weakness, a place of too much giving, too much yielding? This is the first step to transformation, recognizing that the feminine attitude that forces him to take you seriously begins with escaping the illusion of the good woman. Your value doesn't come from pleasing him. It comes from your unwavering loyalty to yourself. Picture a woman who steps away from this trap, who refuses to let her identity dissolve into his desires. She doesn't chase. She doesn't plead. Instead, she turns inward, reclaiming the parts of herself she's given away. This is the woman who begins to radiate a power that cannot be ignored, a power that says, I am enough, with or without you. And when a man encounters this, something shifts within him. He begins to see not just her beauty, but her strength, her sovereignty. This is the seed of respect, the first whisper of fear that he might lose her. It's not about what you do for him. It's about who you become when you honor your own soul. The power of emotional sovereignty. Now, let's delve deeper into the heart of this transformation, where the second pillar of your feminine power takes root, emotional sovereignty. Have you ever felt the need to suppress your anger, your sadness, your joy, waiting for his permission to feel? Society has conditioned us to seek validation, to soften our edges, to avoid rocking the boat. But what if those very emotions, raw, unfiltered, and authentically yours, are the keys to unlocking a man's admiration? Jung understood that the psyche thrives when we integrate all aspects of ourselves, that denying our feelings is to deny our soul's voice. A woman who claims her emotional sovereignty, who feels what she feels without apology, becomes a force of nature, an energy so wild and free that it both captivates and intimidates. Imagine the shift when you stop asking, is it okay to be angry? And instead declare, this is how I feel, and it is valid. This isn't about unleashing chaos. It's about honoring the full spectrum of your humanity. When you embrace your tears, your laughter, your rage, you create a presence that cannot be controlled or diminished. A man who sees this, a woman who stands in her emotional truth, feels a pull he can't explain. It's not just attraction, it's awe. He begins to realize that to lose you would mean losing a connection to something greater, something he can't find elsewhere. This is the energy that makes him fear losing you, not because you threaten him, but because you inspire him. This sovereignty is your birthright, a gift from the anima that Jung so revered. It's the courage to feel deeply, to express fully, without needing his nod of approval. And when you live this way, you become magnetic, not because you try, but because you are. The man who once ignored you starts to see the cracks in his own indifference, the weakness that surfaces when he risks letting you slip away. Your emotional freedom becomes his mirror, reflecting a truth he can't escape. You are a force to be reckoned with, and losing you would be his greatest loss. Boundaries, as sacred fortresses, the third pillar of this transformative attitude, is perhaps the most revolutionary. Boundaries over please. How often have you found yourself saying, please, don't do that again, only to watch the same hurt repeat itself? The plea is a cry from a place of powerlessness, a plea that begs for change rather than demands it. But what if the key to respect lies not in asking, but in acting? Jung spoke of the need to integrate the shadow, the parts of ourselves we hide, but he also knew that true strength comes from defining what we will and will not accept. Boundaries are not walls that block love, they are fortresses that protect your sacred value, signaling to the world that you are worthy of honor. Consider a woman who no longer pleads, but sets consequences with quiet resolve. She doesn't say, please stop hurting me, but lives in a way that declares, if you cross this line, I will no longer give you my time or energy. This isn't about punishment, it's about self. When you establish boundaries, you teach others how to treat you not through words, but through actions. A man who sees this begins to feel the weight of his choices. He realizes that your love is not a given, that your presence is a gift he must earn. This is where the fear of loss takes root, not because you threaten to leave, but because you show him you can thrive without him. This shift transforms the dynamic. The man who once took you for granted starts to see the strength in your limits. He feels the fragility of his position when he risks violating your boundaries, and that fragility awakens a respect he didn't know he was capable of. Your boundaries become a mirror to his soul, reflecting his own need to grow, to rise to meet you. And in that reflection, he begins to fear losing the woman who stands firm in her worth, a fear that deepens his love, if he's man enough to face it. Igniting the fear of loss. The fourth pillar builds on this foundation, igniting the fear of loss in a way that redefines your relationship. Have you ever noticed how a man's interest seems to wane when you orbit his world, always available, always waiting? The truth is, when your life revolves around him, you become a satellite, predictable and safe. But what happens when you become a planet of your own, a world rich with meaning, happiness, and purpose, whether he's by your side or not? This is the moment when the fear of losing you takes hold, not because you manipulate, but because you thrive. Jung's concept of individuation teaches us that wholeness comes from living our own truth, not from being defined by others. A woman who fills her days with passion, whether it's painting, dancing, exploring nature, or simply savoring her own company, creates a life so vibrant that a man becomes a complement, not the center. When he sees you laughing with friends, pursuing your dreams, or finding joy in solitude, he begins to question his place in your orbit. He realizes that you don't need him to be complete, and that realization stirs a primal fear, the fear that he might lose access to your light. This isn't about playing games or withholding love, it's about living authentically. A man who feels this fear doesn't see you as a possession to control, but as a treasure to cherish. He begins to understand that your independence is your strength, and losing you would mean losing a connection to something rare and beautiful. This is the moment when he realizes, perhaps more than he admits, he's more in love with you than he even realizes. Your fullness becomes his mirror, reflecting a love he didn't know he was capable of until the threat of losing you awakens it daily. Rituals to anchor your power. To sustain this transformative attitude, the fifth pillar calls for daily rituals, sacred practices that root you in your power and reinforce the feminine strength you're cultivating. Jung believed that the psyche thrives on ritual, on intentional acts that connect us to our deeper selves. These rituals are your anchors, your way of honoring the anima within, ensuring that your inner world remains a sanctuary of self-love and respect. The first ritual is the mirror declaration. Each morning, stand before your reflection, look into your own eyes, and speak words of truth. I am worthy. My feelings are valid. My boundaries are sacred. This isn't vanity. It's a vow to yourself, a reaffirmation of the sovereignty you're building. Feel the weight of those words sink into your soul, letting them reshape how you carry yourself through the day. A man who sees this quiet confidence begins to feel its power, a power that makes him pause, that makes him fear losing the woman who knows her worth. The second ritual is the sacred schedule, a non-negotiable appointment with yourself each day, even if it's just 15 to 30 minutes. This could be a walk in nature, a journal entry, a meditation, or simply sitting with a cup of tea, basking in your own presence. This time is yours, a space where you prioritize your needs above all else. When you live this way, your life becomes a testament to your self-love, a life so rich that a man sees he's not the center of your universe, but a welcomed guest. This is the final piece that cements his fear of loss, his realization that your world doesn't stop without him. The alchemy of respect as this journey unfolds. You'll discover that the respect you seek is not something to beg for, it's something you exude. The value you desire doesn't come from his hands. It comes from the sacred ground you stand on within yourself. Jung's wisdom teaches us that true power lies in becoming whole, in integrating the light and shadow of our being into a harmonious dance. When you live this truth, you become a Bikana woman whose presence commands respect, whose strength ignites love, whose independence stirs fear in the heart of a man who once ignored you. Consider the woman who embodies this. She no longer chases, no longer pleads. She lives with emotional sovereignty, sets boundaries with grace, thrives in her own orbit, and honors herself with daily rituals. A man in her presence feels the shift. He sees the greatest weakness of a man who ignores you, his inability to grasp the depth of your soul. He begins to fear losing you, not because you threaten, but because you shine. And in that fear, he finds a love deeper than he ever imagined. A love that grows from the realization that you are not just his choice, but his necessity. This transformation ripples outward, touching every corner of your life. Your friends notice your radiance, your family feels your strength, and the men around you, whether an ex who returns or a new love who emerges, respond to your energy. They see a woman who doesn't need to be chosen, and that very independence makes them want to choose her. This is the alchemy of your soul, the magic that turns pain into power, indifference into devotion. If this journey stirs your heart, if you feel the call to rise into this sacred feminine power, join us at @shadowsage-u7n. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, and in the comments, write chosen a single word that declares your commitment to your worth. What's one way you'll honor yourself today? Share it below, and let's build a community of women who live, love, and shine with unbreakable strength. This is not the end, it's the beginning of a love that transforms, a love that lasts, a love that begins with you.